magician, the lover in you. Every single day, we are called to walk in our purpose. Answer the call. Lay down your burden and anything that holds you back and take your rightful place. The battle is everywhere. It's right in your face. Let's go.
Welcome to Magnets, Crystals, and Pyramids. Success is your destiny. Yes. Love, wisdom, power. Remember always who you are. Yes. Yes. I am love, wisdom, power. Yes. Yes. I am love. Yes. Power. Yes. I am yes, I am love, wisdom, power. Yes, yes, I am love, wisdom, power. Master. Yes, I am. Yes, love, wisdom, power. Yes, I am. Say yes, to yourself. Yes, I am protected. Yes, I am master. I am relaxed.
You are muted, brother. You are muted.
I'm on. Yes. I just realized. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Moorish Monday with Abdullah Il Talib Mosi Bey. I am with you with a wonderful guest. This is we're on Magnets, Crystal Pyramids, YouTube. Please subscribe to the page if you haven't done so. Hit that notification button. Hit the like. And so thank you for joining us. You see across the screen for the next hour or so, my website, mooresandmasonry.org. So definitely. So tonight's topic is a spiritual build. Man, the topic eludes me. High build. We're dealing with spiritual mathematics. High mind build, dealing with spiritual mathematics. So I had my guest, Brother Kalau Keano. I connected with Brother Kalau last year around July. I reached out to him on Instagram, and he brought me on his show a couple times. And so he's has a wealth of knowledge dealing with mathematics, and so I'm very excited to have him today. This is the first time that won't be the last. The first time he's going to be appearing on this platform. So, Brother Kalau, can you put your video on?
I can. I never do. Putting my face out is about typically as far as I go. I'm kind of like MF Doom in that way. I've amassed a little bit of a following, and I'm very thankful for it. But fame is the last thing I'm in for. So I like to, put a picture about. I've been using AI art and all kinds of things, having some
All right.
students promote their art, but I'm using my own face here. But I don't.
Why?
You understand? But I want to say thank you to you. I want to say thank you to Uncle Hanky. For allowing me to grace your platform. I want to come in with proper honor and respect. So I want to say all love, peace, and healing to Taj Tariq Bey. I know he's been going through some things, so I want to send, you know, all healing to him. I want to say rise in power to C. Freeman L., Baba Kalindi Ayi, Azariah Bey, Azazel Bey, Khalid Muhammad, Asir the Duke of Tears and his queen Selena, um, Queen Valara Renita El Bey, Dr. Ali Muhammad, Dr. Yafa Bey, Reverend Dr. Phil Valentine L., Black Dot, Shabazz Wilson, Tefero Azir, Brother Raswell, Rise and Power to Brother Panic, and love, peace, and power to everybody who's going to hear this and grace us with your presence. I appreciate all of your energy. Thank you for allowing me to be here.
It's give us the topic of the day. I think I butched it up.
High science, a build on spiritual mathematics. Spiritual mathematics, like numerology, gematria, astrocartography, astrology, cardology, palmistry, all of the occult practices, you know, the ways that we would look at a child and say this child has signs on them. That goes to many different levels. If we understand that we exist in a multi-dimensionality, right? We have a higher self, we have a lower self, we have 12 different houses of the zodiac, we have all these different aspects of us. We're not just our sun sign, we're not just our life path. How do we express that? What is the frequency of your name? How many different names do you have? Why does your family call you this particular nickname? Why is your business this particular name? Why do we have success and failures? We're talking about frequency. You know, like you can turn on a radio. That first station you come to isn't always so steady, and then you triangulate, and you're able to center yourself. Right. This is the same technology we deal with when it comes to a phone. That's a mimicry of what we do inherently. So we need to know our own frequencies. Especially in the times that we're in, especially going forward. You can't know where you're going if you don't know where you are, let alone where you've been and how many spaces you exist in.
Awesome, brother. Awesome. Tell us a little bit about yourself before we dive deep into the topic.
Sure. Well, my name is Kilel Kiano. I am a numerologist, symbologist, decoder by trade, researcher. I study for fun, always have. I'm from Detroit, Michigan, West Side. I went to school at the Shrine of the Black Madonna, Michigan Institute for Child Development. I studied to be a pastor early in life. I went to seminary school from the age of 5 to 16. I got tired of getting in trouble for questioning dogmatic doctrine. When you practice religion of any sort, because I've gone through a great many of them, Christianity, Islam, Nation of Gods and Earths, there's always something that's deemed shirk, that's haram, that's, you know, we don't read that, we don't touch that, we don't acknowledge that. And I've never been good about that. I read everything. I go in the library and I go down every aisle. So when you do a simple surface study of religion, it's very easy to see the similarities as opposed to the contradictions. But if you put it under a microscope, and sometimes you don't even have to go that far, you can see that the real magic is in the contradiction, and you could begin to look at historical narratives as far as eras and epochs and frequency, and see why things have changed. So, case in point, we had a little bit more masculinity, a little bit more aggressiveness before the year 2000, and I mean that worldwide. Right, as far as people who are in the year of the 20th century, because everyone doesn't have the same calendar, right? So we have to know where we are and when. Case in point, the new year in Ethiopia is 9/11, September 11th, right? but the rest of the world tends to know that date very differently, and the year doesn't quite match up. So, the year is going to be different in Israel. It's going to be different in Mecca. It's going to be different in China. It's going to be different in the U.S. So where we stand guides our perspective to be able to see from a myriad of perspectives is always going to be beneficial. Otherwise, why would you ever want to be one dimensional and be one thing?
Absolutely, good point. Good point about that. And you, like myself, I have done comparative analysis of what they call different religions, which I know that that's not so. As you, as you eloquently put it, that there's a common origin, a common thread, that there's an interconnectivity of the all. So, how long have you been studying gematria, archaeoastronomy, and the numbers from the sense of time and space?
Well, there's a lot of levels to that. There's a lot of levels to that. My grandfather was a numerologist. He used to play the lottery, the 3-digit and 4-digit, and he would win 3 and 4 times a week. I grew up with that, so I didn't really question it. I knew it was a little different but it was more so the way he went about it. He didn't brag, he didn't boast. He just, he knew he won. He went and got his money, and that was that. So he taught me a lot of simple numerology. I learned gematria in 2001 is when I first came across it. 9/11 was a big, big ritual. And I was completely under mind control at that time. I was in a very bad place. I had twin daughters who were stillborn. My mother had died of cancer. I had a whole lot going on. Excuse me. Pardon me, I had to clear my throat. 9/11 happened. I enlisted in the Army, and I was about 2 weeks from shipping out to Fort Bragg. And there was a news report about Osama bin Laden evading capture at a Pakistani U.S. military hospital. And that hit me like a punch in the gut. I went to the library and I started researching. I don't even know, I didn't even know what I was looking for, but I came across the Gulf of Tonkin incident. For anybody who's familiar with history and false flags, we know that this is the event the U.S. military used to get the favor of the people to back them finally entering the war. Every war, every conflict, especially since World War II, has been instigated by a false flag. So I withdrew my engagement. I said, I can't deal with y'all. You know what I'm saying? I was disgusted for even having a thought. And that led me down a path of discovery because 9/11 has so many different numerical synchronicities within it, from the number of the flight to the number of the floors to the buildings themselves looking like an 11. These numbers consistently repeat. So it took me down this rabbit hole when I realized that gematria is a higher elevation of numerology in coding letters with numbers. So, for example, simple numerology, you have A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, all the way up to Z, which is 26, right? But if you think about a decoder ring, for those of us who used to play around with cereal boxes that had toys in them, or Cracker Jacks or whatever back in the day, a decoder ring, you tend to have different concentric circles that move, clockwise and counterclockwise. And you can spell different things. You can decode different things. So it's just like cogs inside of a clock. So when you move to the Sumerian cipher, for example, where the key is 6, A is 6, B is 12, C is 18, all the way up to Z, which is 156, you're starting to get a deeper meaning, a different frequency, a deeper resonance to these words. So, for example, A good example would be 444. Most people are familiar with this number, especially in our culture lately for the last few years, because Jay-Z made an album called 444, right? Very symbolic. He's born on December 4th. His wife, Beyonce, is born on September 4th, right? So 4 plays a big number. There's a reason for that. It represents the foundation of wealth, which is displayed through the 8. So you're talking about as above, so below. So 444 equals the word Messiah. It equals Jesus. It equals Lucifer. It equals Messiah. It equals Muhammad, and on and on. So, the interesting thing about those words is that they're in the same stratosphere. They're all in the same neighborhood. Like they're not really aloof from each other. Like they're kind of connected. So there's a frequency being displayed here. So when we hear certain keywords in the media, when we hear certain keywords in music, when we hear certain keywords in science, something else is being conveyed. And we have to understand that just like a diamond, frequencies have perspectives, right? If you have a car accident and there's 100 different people to see it, you've got 100 different stories of what actually happened based on their perspective, based on what they were going through that day. All of these things matter. And those things are needed especially in a comparative study, but we're talking about high science.
So the once again today's title is high mind science, spiritual um, build dealing with mathematics. So as you work to continue with the topic, well, let's look at how would one apply this knowledge to their daily lives.
Well, there's a lot of different ways to do that. A lot of different ways to do that. When you truly begin to understand what it means to call your power back to you, we can realize how much power we actually give away. So, case in point, we can't necessarily tell time universally anymore. We used to have sundials, and the majority of here in the West in America, you can't find a decent sundial, because of buildings and the way of construction, especially in terms of the quote unquote daylight savings time that we just experienced yesterday, right? So you want to understand where you are universally. So today, for example, is a universal 5 day. What does that mean? That means that if you take today's date, and you add it all up by single digits, this plus this plus this plus this, you're going to come to a sum that's going to reduce to 5, right? 5 represents change. It represents freedom. It represents beauty, travel, sex, restless energy. It needs to move. It needs to not be stagnant, right? So anyone who's born under 5 energy or has 5 energy within their cardology card, within their own numerology, within their birthday, that's going to be a little bit more over the surface spilling over today. It's going to be an abundant energy. It's a universal frequency. But that's true, again, here in the West and for anyone who's abiding by that date. So case in point, Japan's already in another day. Australia is in another day than we are. So the frequency shifts. So it's largely about our awareness. How aware do we choose to be? When you speak to someone who's highly aware, they can almost finish a sentence sometimes, right? When you speak to someone who's not so aware, sometimes their mind has kind of atrophied to the point to where they don't really use it. So it becomes harder to entertain a thought because they're used to being told what to think. So this is why, highly elevated people can come across people not so elevated and think that it's crazy that they can't get these facts. but they've been completely conditioned, and who knows what they're going through, because in survival mode it's harder to pay attention. You don't care what the newspapers talk about when you got to pay your bills. You know what I mean? When you got to make this move and you got to do this and that, and your kids got to eat, and people got to be picked up, and all these kinds of things. So it's about really taking your power back. If you understand, like, people do things on certain days, and I mean everyone, from the bakery to the school to the president. Our election is occurring tomorrow on a Two of Diamonds day. What does that mean? Two of Diamonds is talking about value. But if you want to talk about the power of perspective, you can look at a diamond. A lot of people are going to think money. Some people are going to think, oh, that's going to look really good on my ear. Some people are going to think it's going to look really good on my hand. Some people are going to think that's going to look really good at the pawn shop. Let me cash that in. So perspective is going to be imperative. How do you want to use this knowledge? How do you want to understand it? Because it's ultimately you and how you choose to express yourself. So it can serve you in many ways. From where you live with your address. Perhaps it's harder for you to manifest. If your address boils down to a 7, you're talking about loner. You're talking about spiritual loner energy. You're not really talking about community. You would rather be under the energy of a 6, which is the home frequency, foundation, right? So, each frequency is kind of like with astrocartography. If you want to live on a Venus line and just be happy, that's fine. If you want to live on a Neptune line, you're talking about things coming from the deep and constant change. So if you want to be continuously challenged and learning and essentially going through something, that might be something you're looking for. Everybody's not looking for that. So to go into these things blindly is kind of like your only mode of transportation is a motorcycle, and you're not checking the weather before you go out. You can't be mad that there's snow and ice on the ground. So understanding these frequencies and how they express themselves through yourself is imperative. Otherwise, it's like people can tell you anything, and you just don't understand why it doesn't resonate with you.
Oh, awesome. Well, how can we as a people use this knowledge to improve our economic, social, and political conditions?
Well, number one, we have to understand where it comes from and why. So what is mathematics? How do we gain our ability to count? Where does that come from? It comes from the woman, right? It comes from that X gene. If we think about infinity, right? If you look at the center, you look at that crux, it's an X, right? So think about Sachet, the goddess of arithmetic, architecture, writing, script of all kind, right? She doesn't have a temple, because everything, every edifice, every temple, every house, every building, every masjid is a dedication to her, whether we know it or not, because we're using her science to build it. The same way the master builder, the woman, gives birth to the child. This is the science of masonry, right? So why do you think everyone in particular in the West hates math? There's a reason for that. Everybody wants more dollars. Everybody wants more zeros, but they don't want to go through the work. They don't want to understand the frequency of why that is. Why does a woman multiply whatever you give her? You see? So if we look at our calendar, for example, you're talking about 13 months at 28 days apiece, which gives you 364 days plus 1, right? That's been changed. Now we have 12 days at random days from 28 to 31. So are they playing with time, or are we allowing it because we operate under their system? We go back to our own way. We go back to our own science. So in terms of, nothing's going to change our stance until we have a standing army. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can demand and we can do the paperwork and we can display wonderful tricks and amazement. But until we got a standing army, ain't nothing gonna change. Until we vote with our dollars and our attention, nothing's going to change. We keep, the powers that should not be in power. period. So until we can get control of our attention, we can't have the conversation because people aren't ready for high science. People don't have time for high science. You know, typically when people run to spiritual practitioners or, you know, these different modalities of science and schools of thought, it's related to a trauma. You know, like they're almost forced to go in this direction. So, you know, I don't try to wake anyone up before their alarm clock goes off. You have to wait for, you know, the alarm clock to go off and allow people to show up as they show up. And we also have to have enough grace to not throw people away, because we throw people away. You know, you wear this so you can't say that. You eat this so you can't do that. Like, nah, like that's, you know, if we cared more about our youth, if we cared more about our elders, if we cared more about our actual science, we wouldn't have to even have these conversations. But we have to bring awareness. So we have to allow people to show up as they show up, and then we have to pay attention to who shines. It's kind of like if we're teaching in a classroom, right? I got to concentrate on these students. I can't run out in the street and play truant officer and try to look, get your ass in here, man. Blah, blah, blah. I can't. I don't have the time. I wish I could. I wish I could pay somebody to do it for me, but the kids ain't trying to hear that. So do I fight to get these babies in the classroom, or do I pay attention to the ones I already got and hope that they go back to their families and teach what they've learned? And when you teach correctly, that's what happens. So we got to get in where we fit in. We got to meet people where they are and allow them to show up. Because when we have these mandates, when we have this dogmatic, we have to do this, and we listen. You ain't got to do nothing but stay original and live. But can you do it well? How do we do that? You raise your awareness. You raise your skill level. You raise your scientific thinking. And you dig into your science. I built a digital library on Telegram so people can learn to do this for themselves. You know what I mean? Because it's very easy to find a teacher or find, well, you know what? I don't want to put my foot in my mouth, because I sit at the feet of some great, amazing people every day. Shout out to Nina Diamond, the mother of Aquarius Maximus. Shout out to her. I sit at her feet every day and learn. You know, we need to take advantage of these vestiges, these walking libraries while we have them. You know, we have to talk about that. You know what I'm saying? Until we can do that, until we can recognize that and make that a force going forward. You know, I'm not even concerned with what the government's doing, because ain't nothing we can do about it but talk about it.
All right. So as we continue with your let's dive more into this, the numbers. Give some more examples of numbers and this mental development.
All right. Well, let's take a walk through the numbers. First and foremost, 0 is not a placeholder. It is a divine portal. It is a representation of where we all come from. And the first number it gives birth to is the masculine principle. We have to also understand that what we call masculinity is only the aggressive side of the feminine, but that's a different spiritual conversation. So the masculine principle comes first. We're talking about the leader. We're talking about new beginnings. We're talking about willpower. We're talking about aggression, being competitive, being opinionated. Right? They say what they feel. They don't really bite their tongue. They tend to be more muscular and athletic naturally. They tend to have a one-track mind. Um, they'll work very hard. You know, they don't necessarily like shortcuts. You'll notice that women who are born on the 1st, the 10th, the 19th, the 28th, Not only are they good leaders, but they tend to make or they tend to be very aggressive. You know, these are the women who men tend to run from. Well, boys tend to run from. Men get excited, right? Um, when you talk about two, you're talking about partnerships. You're talking about peace. You're talking about war. You're talking about the introvert, someone who's very sensitive, delicate, um, very much into hygiene, cleanliness. They'll hold a grudge if you hurt their feelings, right? Um, Peace and war, and we also have to understand that two is a higher can be a higher elevation, going to 11, going to 20, 29, and these frequencies will bring you to the same place, but they show up differently. Um, Three, you're talking about creativity. You're talking about the childlike energy. You're talking about the birth. You're talking about speaking. You're talking about somebody with like the gift of gab. These people tend to be artists, great storytellers, very creative, no matter what field or what shape that may take. They also like to play games, right? Sometimes threes can like to gamble. Four is the number of the hard worker, right? It's the algorithm, it's law and order, being very observant. Also naturally muscular, kind of buff, very militant. You're talking about structure, you're talking about walls, you're talking about rooms, discipline. Fours tend to like blue, but blue is also a color of the law. Um, Robotic. Sometimes they can be a bit introverted in terms of emotion. Five, you're talking about freedom, you're talking about travel, you're talking about beauty, you're talking about restless energy. Um, Fives can't sit still, right? Fives look very attractive on the outside and the inside typically. Fives tend to have issues in relationships because of that, because they can always attract something. Fives always have options, right? And they benefit from moving. They benefit from travel. You know, they just stepped around the corner and just won a whole contest like that kind of energy. Six is the homebody. You know, it's the doctor, it's the realtor, the politician. Six is family. Six is friendship. Six is like the desire to have a family and to have children. Sixes would much rather have a drink at the house as opposed to go to a bar or a lounge or something, right? Um, seven Seven is the spiritual loner. You're talking about a higher frequency. Home. Sevens sometimes don't feel at home in their own skin, right? But the same energy as seven can get from being with a crowd, they can get from being with themselves. Sevens have a very high awareness. Seven is also one of the main numbers of what we like to call the matrix or this world. We're under 7 days, largely because there are seven visible planets, right? That we can see with the naked eye without the help of a telescope. Hence, you know, the seven gods, the seven seas, supposedly seven continents, but that's another conversation because a continent is a supermassive land that is surrounded by water. Europe is not a continent; it's connected to Asia. Technically speaking, Africa is not a continent because it's connected to Asia, but again, that's another story. Eight is the executive. Eight is the boss. Eight is currency. Eight is energy. Eight is the as above, so below. It is maintaining an energy field. Again, it's that X at the center, that core of femininity, and X is infinite, right? Much like its big cousin or big brother or sister nine. Nine is about adaptability. Nine we're going to see next year. This year, this karmic universal 8 year, this eight of hearts. Many people have been going through things that they've been going through their entire life, right? It doesn't matter who you are. Some people have it more than others, but to a large degree, is to get you to elevate, to finally face your fear and assume your power back. Next year, we're talking about wish fulfillment. Next year, we're talking about cyclicity, We're going from the energy of this wood dragon to a wood snake, right? We're talking about refined Kundalini on a universal scale. So you're talking about endings on a level that we haven't seen before. Nine, nine is death, but nine is also birth. It takes 9 months for a child to be born, right? And nothing can stop that child from coming. We're going to see that on a spiritual level next year. Now, there's also master numbers that I call the mother master numbers of 11, 22, and 33. These are not supposed to be reduced. I reduce them in different systems because I use all forms of mathematics. I use every cipher. For example, in the conspiracy world, depending on who you're listening to, especially in terms of gematria, it tends to be associated with the Jesuits. This science is far older than the Jesuits. How dare you? Right? That's not what we do. It is far deeper than just this one dimensional. Um, so I use them all, but you'll notice with the conspiracy people, they only use the 4 base ciphers. Understand they're called base for a reason. They keep you at base level. So if you understand, you have Knights of the Golden Circle, you have the Order of Jesters, you have the Shriners, you have many different branches of Freemasonry. You got Prince Hall. You got all these different groups, right? But they each, to be nice, they each have one cipher. They each have their own cipher. So think about how many groups that is. Supposedly, Freemasonry is the biggest gang on earth besides the police, right? So they all have their own cipher. About 50 of these are currently in use, from the Fibonacci to the golden squares to satanic and reverse satanic and on and on and on. And depending on where you go. So for example, we don't have an app. Now I'm not recommending apps. Technology's cool, you know what I'm saying? We have to use it. But you'll notice when you go to these different apps, I'm not even gonna say their names, because if you know, you know. Um, they'll use different names. So what might be the Jewish cipher turns into the Sumerian cipher over here. What might be the Latin cipher turns into the English cipher over here. So you have to know what you're dealing with. You have to know the legends to these different ciphers. But I recommend using them all, because otherwise you're talking about a level of tunnel vision that we can't even imagine on a spiritual frequency level. That can be detrimental, and that's why the media uses this every day.
Yeah, but that was fantastic, man. Very insightful, uh, thought provoking. Do we have any questions so far? Any questions? Type your questions in the chat. Any questions? Questions like you would like to ask, brother Kalau.
If anybody wants to put their birthday, or if anyone wants to know what card their day is or anything like that, by all means.
Yeah, that'll work. You see any questions? All right, so we'll continue here. What about my name? Can you tell me something about my name?
Yes, indeed. One thing I can tell you is you have a long, powerful name. Abdullah is a historical name for anyone familiar with Islam, right?
Yeah,
So
I guess.
that's first and foremost. But you have a powerful name. One, because it's so long, so it's going to denote a great many things. But it shows you in how many spaces you can exist. So give me just one moment.
If you haven't subscribed to the page, please do so. Click that like button, hit that notification bell, and you see my website across the screen. Moors and Masonry.org.
So your name and I'm partial to the Sumerian cipher. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's one I use all of them in my readings, but it's always my go-to because it has the deepest level of resonance from what I've seen. Right next to the Chaldean. Um, your name comes to 1260, right? Now 1260 is going to stand out to me because that's
Oh,
the
all right.
mhm. That's going to stand out to me because that's the whole that's the not, I almost said hotel. That's the hospital room I was in 3 years ago when I had my heart surgery, right? So there's an interesting connection,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
some of the frequencies that match up with your name, I would point out would be you are a unique being. Collaborate with them. Gravitational pull. Meditation session. I trust my guides. 99999. Follow your gut. Trust this flow. The story of numbers. Your intuition. The arrogant never do. The spirit molecule. And then the end shall come. 2124. Golden gate is open. Universal memory. The gateway process. Critical warning sign. 792. And on and on and on and on. Right? And understand also that you can write this code. But this is just one frequency, and that's the entirety of your name. So if we took Abdullah, if we took the L, if we took the Talib, if we took the Moster, all individually, we can see those frequencies as well, as opposed to when we just put it all together.
Right.
So in other words, how do we show up? So what does it mean when someone says teacher and greets you that way, or like all of these frequencies, and people don't even necessarily understand why they may choose to address you in such a way, but you can gain a clearer understanding through this science. You don't even necessarily have to ask the question. You just have to pay attention to how people show up, how places show up, and things as well. Because we're talking about cars, we're talking about clothes, you know, some people, some Moors don't take their fares off, right? Well, when you look at the number of fares, what does that frequency add up to? Like these are questions we can ask because these things and modalities and regalia still exist and they exist for a reason. So how we display them, how they are regulated to be displayed, all of that's the frequency.
Mm. Interesting, brother. Actually thought provoking. I studied numerology a little bit. I put I look at the numbers and this relationship to space and time, shapes, numbers, space and time, catastrophe, predictions, and so that's really where I put a lot of emphasis in my study in numbers. So, as you were, brother, continue. Now we haven't gotten any questions yet. This is really good, brother. I'm excited to have you on today. I actually was looking forward to this throughout the day.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. It's truly an honor.
Listen,
Brother Hank, all right.
Islam, brother Abdullah. I want to acknowledge Islam, brother Khalil. Did I pronounce it correctly?
Yes, sir, brother Hank Kilel. How are you doing? Wonderful to make your acquaintance. Thank you. It's such an honor.
Yo, brother, I'm listening to your his cadence, his speech, brother Abdullah. This brother's deeper than numerology. I want to ask him what's the
Yes.
sense of his tempo as far as the present planetary affairs because this boy brother is way deeper than just numbers. So I'm going to I said take it to the deep water, Brother Khalil. What do you see as far as the present state of affairs in the world? I'm going backstage for you to run with it.
Hmm.
Well, thank you for that question. I greatly appreciate it. That's a doozy. The current state of affairs. Well, my perspective is probably going to be triggering and controversial for a few people. I'll get that out of the way. The universe is perfect, right? The only thing that brings about detriment and lack and what we deem to be negativity is our lack of awareness. Right? The more aware we are, the easier it is to claim and take that power back because it's only ever yours. So it's never about what they are doing. It's never about what they going to do because they've been going to do something for decades. I'm 43. I'll be 44 this year, inshallah. And I've never been more excited. I've never been more vigorous. I've never been more creative and excited to see what's going to happen because anything is possible. The quote unquote elite is losing their mind behind the potentiality that they've always known has existed. There have been laws on the books for when two or more of us come together, right? So, they were content to let us be on the corners until we started building and calling ourselves God while we did it, right? So the current state of affairs is people are tired of being tired. We're talking about a karmic universal 8-year where people have had to face everything, their fear, their loss, their ability to manifest everything. And going into this 9, you're talking about refinement in a way and on a level and a stage that we haven't seen before. There's so much we haven't dealt with as a collective, as a people, behind this quote unquote election and what that's really brought out. So I look forward to the healing because, again, like I said, I'm not here for fame. My supporting karma card is the Ace of Spades. That's the death card. I've died 7 times in my life. You know what I mean? And thankfully, I learned from those times. So, we need to be healed. We need to be cherished. We need to be lifted up. We need to be talked to, and we need to be taught after all of that. So, we have to be able to meet people where they are, as opposed to you do this, so I can't fuck with you. It's been over a year since Brother Panic made the transition, and his energy has been so active and busy. That's because we are teeming with potential. For those who remember, Baba Kalindi and Dr. Layla Africa made the transition early 2020, if I'm not mistaken, right? And you're talking about 2 of the healthiest, most positive souls on the face of the earth that they went to prepare a way. Like, we're talking about the time we're literally in right now. So we have to recognize our own potential. We have to listen to our intuition more than ever, and we have to take back your science. You know what I mean? The rest of the world is using it, and they can't get a handle on it. They need to stay in one dimension. So it's all about the conspiracy. It's all about you. You the only show in town. That's it. And you always have been, you always will be. So stunt in the way that you were supposed to stunt, and stunt with your science. And it's a reverence to the mother. I focus on numbers because it allows me to teach any and everything, right? Everything is numerical. Everything, history, art, music, code, in and of itself. Like, even healing is numerical. You're talking about different frequencies. Like, look at the organ, right? Think about resonance. What people still go to church because of genetic memory from how they used to be. You never forget anything. So understanding how the energy works, if you know the number of the radio station, it's easier. It's that much easier to tune in. You ain't got to bounce all over the frequency. So get your number, get your frequency, and tune in. I hope that answered your question. I pray that answered your question. I'm sorry, that was a bit of all over.
Yeah, brother Hank, is that did he satisfy your question?
Yo, that was hot. That was hot. Take him to the deep water, brother. Take him to the deep water.
Right. So great, great.
Thank
So
you. Thank
he
you.
said, take us to the deep water.
Okay, well, deep means, we ain't breathing air no more. You know what I mean? The deep water is going deep within yourself. Still waters run deep. So how far out are we looking is a reflection of how far in we've gone. So in terms of being deep, science is only as deep as you allow it to be. So, sometimes we don't need to go further than, a simple addition or division or multiplication. But when you start talking about vortex math and you start talking about different ciphers and what symbolism means on different levels, well, you have to get deep. But that's how deep we actually are. You're so deep that they call your cells junk DNA. If they call it junk, then it must be gold, right? If they tell you you was born in sin, you must be born in complete divination, right? So, the power of inversion is just about perspective. So how hard is it for us to flip the switch? I don't want to get too controversial. One of my favorite lyricists, one of my favorite artists of all time is Ghostface Killer, Wu-Tang Clan, right? He had an issue. I say had because I haven't looked into it recently. I don't know if more has come of it or not. He has a son who's like, I'm not sure if he's transitioning or if he's homosexual or what. And Ghost feels the way he feels about that, or at least he did at the time. He made a statement because his son came out saying this, that, and the third. Like he wants a relationship with his father. You know what I'm saying? I come from an era where if your child wants to do this or they wants to do that, that's just what they do. And you're going to love them no matter what. But in front of the world, that's what I'm talking about when I say like we throw each other away. It's understandable. You're talking about an older doctrine, an older mindset. But see, if we throw them away, we can't be mad when the quote unquote enemy picks them up and turns them into a weapon. Right. And that happens all the time, every day. So like, that's deep for me. You know what I mean? Because that's the shit that we see every day that we don't talk about. We don't really address. It just kind of is what it is. And then we want to act like we deep when it comes to science and science. I don't care about all that because people can't handle that. And what does that even mean if we can't fix these relationships in our own household? So, that again, that's why like I'm talking about healing, because this should be used for healing. It can be used for gambling. I can teach you that. I can teach you how to bet off sports and understand who's going to win just based off their record. That's not hard to do, but that doesn't necessarily benefit us. We're talking about value. We're talking about actually seeing the worth to be able to invest in ourselves and people who look like us. That's deep, but that's just my opinion. If you got somewhere else you want to go, please, I'll
Oh
go
yeah,
in.
I got one more, brother Abdullah. Then I'm going backstage, and I ain't coming back no more. And I want to thank you again, brother Abdullah, for this. This is an epic show, family. Like, subscribe, share, brother Khalil. How can our folks break the self-hate spell? Because the numbers hasn't done it. The conscious community hasn't done it. What do we need, my brother, to break the self-hate spell?
Ooh, that's a powerful question. Powerful question. You bring to the surface a thought I had earlier today. I want to give a shout out to Sensei. Sensei is a wonderful brother, a magnificent healer. He's a god when it comes to astrology on Clubhouse. I'm going to drop the link in the video description. So I mentioned earlier that I went to school to be a pastor at a very early age because I really felt inspired. Like when I got the understanding that being called by God didn't literally mean being tapped on the shoulder and said, God said, go preach my word. Like you could just choose to do it. I ran with that. I ran hard, right? So I remember early in life, I want to say I was like 7 or 8. I don't know what I had gone through. Somebody had died. And I saw a pastor speaking about how, the moment he realized he was walking in the sand and it wasn't two sets of footprints, it was just one because God was carrying him. That's just you. It was only ever you, right? There is no separation between you and God. Understanding that everything under the sun has been inverted to give a faction of your own awareness more time to exist and flourish until you were ready to come to your throne is priceless. So again, like you were never born in sin. You were born divine, the most divine thing in existence. And that means you, the portal, the woman you came through, the woman or the father who impregnated her and dropped that seed, whether they're there or not, because that's a contract that was already predetermined. Understand that there's no decision outside of your awareness that you didn't already sign up for. There's no power that outside of you, nowhere. I don't care what you've been through. Your spirit has never stopped talking to you. If you were worthless, your spirit wouldn't care about you. It never shuts up, whether it's whispering, whether it's screaming, whether it's monotone, right? It's always trying to convey something to you to pull you up to where it is. Always. So you have to be worth more than perhaps you've given yourself credit for. So self-hate is a choice. And it's a poor choice only because you don't have a more validated opinion of yourself in that mirror that
I'm glad
reflects
you're
you.
saying this, brother, because you really have people, and you want to say melanin. Melanin is a two-edged sword because melanin is carbon. Carbon is also a filter. And one of the hardest things to do is clean a carbon filter. I mean, you got people believing, look at this. He born from a mother, all gods and goddesses are fake. This is what kind of folks is out here. They believe the hype. They believe it. They believe that they ain't jack diddly squat. They hate, and they hate deep. So please continue to build. That's why, Brother Abdullah, you're going to be on here every Monday, inshallah, forever. Because our folks are convoluted and in need of therapy, and it ain't going to happen overnight, maybe not even in our lifetime. So please continue, my brother Khalil, inshallah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Brother Hank. I would really love to add to what you just said because depending again, showing you the power of perspective. We can hear what you just said, and a lot of people will just, go, oh man, that's a lot of work. You know what I'm saying? We got to do all. Yeah, it is. It's a lot of work, but imagine what you're going to get out of that. Because see, think about back in the day. Let's go back like 30 years. Let's go back to 30 years. Let's go back to like 1990, right? If I don't know, if the grocery store had a sale on chicken thighs, or if Ray Ray had a good new thing of reefer, the whole hood would know by the morning time, right? Just because of word of mouth, right? Now we have the internet. Now we have computers. in our pockets and in our backpacks and on our phones and everywhere. So we can't complain about what we're not choosing to be active in, right? Because we have more resources. So we need to utilize that. We need to see what it can turn into beyond the realm of popularity. Because see, this shit ain't popular. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you can have a really cool flair, you can have an awesome aesthetic, you know what I mean? You can have all the bells and whistles and that won't mean shit. Sometimes you can be in a cardboard box and the world will listen to you. Because it's about authenticity and frequency. If you show up as who you are, you might be surprised at who shows up to listen. But we gotta again give people the room and the space to show up as they show up, because it's so easy to turn people away. You know what I mean? Like that shit ain't cool. We throwing babies away to the beast, and then we get mad at them for going. You know, it's like you threw me over here. You know what I mean? Nah, man.
Oh, excellent, brother. Brother Hank, we have any? We have any questions on the check, Hank? You had brother Kalal. You had a question. Ask someone if they wanted you to do. All right, here we go. Does he deal with Merkaba math and how to apply it? This is Viserius. This brother Viserius will be on with me sometime next month.
Excellent. Merkaba math is essentially hexagonal math, but that's also a form of vortex math. So it depends on what cipher you're using. It's used primarily, I can't think of the author's name. I can't think. I have his book in my digital library, but there's someone who uses the hexagon in relation to like soul ties and soul contracts. That's a version of that, but it takes many forms, again, depending on what cipher you're using. But I am familiar.
Another question, Hank. Here we go. What are your views on creating the new language that is filled with blessings instead of cursed language we keep speaking?
That's a great question.
That's
That's a great question.
AP Raw's films.
Shout out
AP Raw films.
All right. So again, we're talking about the power of perspective, right? So if we say it's cursed, if they say it's cursed, it must be cursed. But we're talking about the whole language, right?
Right.
So it's not even a language; it's a bastardization of language, because it's literally taking from every other existing language to create this amalgamation that we call a language. But it's not
That's
that.
true. That's true.
It's inherently guttural, right? So the only thing that sounds good coming out of it is music, and that is on a very low level and has been since the 70s, right? So it's about changing your perspective. It's about increasing your vernacular and your vocabulary and understanding different ways to say the same thing. So it's not about word salad. It's about understanding, because if we can't make it plain, then, if we can't explain it to a child, it means nothing. So who are we trying to sound good for? We can use these big words, but we need to understand fundamentals, right? So I don't like to say it's cursed per se, because that gives the word power over you as opposed to giving you power over the word. And no word will ever have power over me, because I have to speak it. The word can't speak me.
All right. Any other questions?
I saw someone drop a date in the chat. I think it was on 2/5/1984. I'm not sure.
You want to break that down? All right.
I think that's 1918 W. Julius. I point that out because my father was born in 1918. 1984. 1982 was the year of the dog, so we're talking about an ox, I think. And you're talking about a 2 life path, so we're talking about a lot of feminine energy, upper echelon 11, secondary 5 energy. So I would imagine you're probably restless, especially now. You're almost to your 52 critical day window for your birthday. You've had an aggressive year, probably a little bit more aggressive than usual. Um, you've had relief since fall, I would say. Springtime, early summer was probably a little hectic. Um, but you're going into a neutral energy next year. So continue to breathe easy, but remember that October is a preview for next year. So how last month was, you want to pay close attention to. I can't recommend journaling enough. Understand why your mind goes where it goes when it does, because that's going to give you a lot of insight to where you're going.
All right, all right. That was good. Anybody else have a name you want him to do? A number?
There's a lot of 11 energy I
All
see.
right. Peace. This is live full, die empty. Peace and blessing. My soul return is 12/18/1981. 12/18/1981. I'm saying 12/18/1981. All right. So he's
So
putting the
they are a 4 life path, Sagittarius, and 81 is cat, right? I don't want to misspeak. I'm trying to go off memory. I think that's a cat. Um, so you are entered into your 52-day birth critical cycle. So you've noticed a shift in your energy. You want to pay close attention to your intuition, because when you get this close to your birthday, your energy tends to go inward, right? Something tends to want to be birthed, but you're also going to want to understand what you're trying to build. You know, what is it you're moving into in terms of the following season, the next year, the next season. This year you are 43. You're about to be 43, I think. Um, so you're moving out of a home sense and you're moving into a 7 personal, right? Which is like a little bit more isolation. So you're really going to want to focus on where you're going, where you are. Do you want to be there? Do you want to remain there? Is it benefiting you? Right? You're going to look at everything from your environment to how you get your money, your income, how you communicate, and you want to pay close attention to what presents itself, especially in the next 3 weeks.
all right. Anyone else? Wait for the next one. All right. All right. 2/5/1984. This is this is what you saw. You saw this. You did this, right? Kalau? You said Julius. That's the Julius, 1984. Well, it's 2
Hmm.
5
Yep.
1984.
Yes, sir.
You did the year. But he put Julius put the whole his act was that 2/5? Yeah, I'm sorry. Let's do Jabir. Jabir Bay, 11/9/1967. 11/9/1967. All right. Jabir Bey. All right. I like that name. I love the name Jabir.
Yeah, it reminds me of brother Sabir Bey.
Oh yeah, it's the sound. Yeah, of course. That J and the yep, Sabir Bey. All right, so we have here 11/9/1967. He's computing.
That's a 7 life path. So that's the energy we were just talking about. 7, you're talking about study, you're talking about research, but 7 is also injury, right? So you probably had some incredible happenstance injuries, accidents that you kind of walked away from, which is a very good thing, but you want to be aware. So like universal 7 days, or even days with 7 secondary energy, you don't really want to have surgery, right? You don't want to go to the doctor. You don't want to get your car worked on, because technology also fails under the 7 energy, right? So you want to be very aware of that, and then your own energy can cause things to short circuit or be disrupted, right? And it's not like you're doing it on purpose, but you want to pay close attention to that, because what's susceptible to that is making yourself aware to you for a reason, right? Um, and being 11/9, 11/9 would make you a Jack of Clubs. A Jack of Clubs is a powerful card, right? Jack of Clubs is royal, right? Like it's getting to that crown line, it's getting that authority, that key to the royal treasury. But it's about showing up for the king and queen. It's about not abusing your power. So you want to be very aware to how things come to you, right? And you want to stay on the side of righteousness, because you have a level of, dare I say, authority that some people don't have. So you don't want to abuse that, because it will come back to you and those around you faster.
All right. We got I live wow, on point. I appreciate that. What's your cash app? This is love live full, die empty.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. I'll drop it in the chat. Thank you.
All right. I'm gonna drop the cash app in the chat. All right. Truth knocks the brains out of falsehood. This is 423, 1988. 423, 1998. As he does the computing. Thank you for your participation.
Well, that's one of my favorites right there. The 88. Shout out to all the 88 babies. 88 babies turning 36 this year. Y'all have been having a powerful awareness in increase this year. It's been an honor to come across a lot of you. Um, Earth dragons, right? So 88 is the Earth dragon. 88 is such a powerful resonance, such a powerful frequency. Um, and you guys are having a ball this year, because it's especially you who have not necessarily been so aggressive or been so assertive. You're naturally at home in your own skin this year in this season. Pay close attention, especially after Halloween. After Halloween, Dia de los Muertos, All Saints Day, this weekend that just passed, you got a lot of downloads, right? You got a lot of energies that want to see you better than you've been, because now you're learning how to generate your own energy. You want to look into human design. You want to see where your nodes are and see what those numbers are, because that's kind of like highways. The whole idea of the highway comes from human design. It's not the other way around. It's not new. They'll tell you it's new. This is a very, very old science. And all you got to do is look at your own routes and look at I-75 or look at I-95, look at the I-20, look at the I-40, look at how they run perpendicular, horizontal, vertical, and look at your own energy waves. Understand a little bit more about Reiki and energy flow and become the master manipulator.
All right. So yes, we have Scrooge Greedy, 8/12/1979, Dwight. This is so we have that. We have the name and we have the numbers. Well, it's numbers too. So it's numbers and numbers. So we have 8/12/1979. They have the name Dwight.
So Dwight is a one life path, natural born leader, right? Especially with that Leo energy. So like born in the spotlight, loves the sun, but then 79, 78 is the horse. So 79, what is 79? Forgive me, I'm trying to go off memory. I bounce around different calendars so often. 79 and Earth Goat. So your energy has been neutral this year. Neutral energy is good energy because if you're not being opposed, you can utilize it just like it was positive. So again, it's about perspective and mindset. Secondary 3 energy with that 12. So you may be a poet, you might have the gift of gab, you might be a singer, something, you got a mouthpiece on you, especially being in the sun like that. But your energy is steady. People tend to rely on you, and you tend to brighten people's day naturally. But your name is interesting. I would have to break that down a little bit more. That Scrooge Greedy. I like that.
All right. Wana Il, 9/13/1975. 9/13/1975. She does the computing.
8 life path, secondary 4 energy. You are a wood cat. You had a really good year last year. Last year, yeah. Um, that cat, the cat has a different level of cunning. Cat came right after that water tiger too. Um, and with that 13 energy, that's secondary 4. So you make your own law. You have your own set of rules, your own set of morals. But through the lens of that cat, like it can be a misunderstood energy, especially being a Virgo because you're very analytical, right? So it's almost akin to like how do people say Sagittarius, right? Telling the truth in a way that's just like it blows things up, but it's the truth. And if you're being your authentic self, you got to show up how you show up. But 9/13, I want to double check your card. Ooh, yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, 9/13 is the 9 of clubs. The 9 of clubs, for anybody who doesn't know, is like the card of cardology, right? Nine of clubs is all about mental expansion, right? So, Brother Panic was a nine of clubs. Anybody who knew or studied under Brother Panic knows that he was all about mental expansion. So, you have a very powerful card. It's actually an honor to have you here tonight, because if you're listening to us talk, we're saying something. So, thank you for being here.
All right. That was good. That was good. So we we did Scrooge Greedy. 8/12/1979. Jahad Akbar. So he brings the name Jahad Akbar. So he wants you to do his name, Kalel.
The
We did the
name,
date already. Yeah, Jahad Akbar.
let me see here. Give me 1 second.
Um, Jahad Akbar, I like the name. So he says he does the computing, right? Calculation.
While I'm digging that up, I saw someone ask about the Queen of Clubs for male. So the Queen of Clubs was my mother's birth card, right? So Queen of Clubs in a male, because, and let me say this right now for the men and for the women in terms of cardology. It's very easy to be thrown off because maybe you're a man and you have a queen card, or maybe you're a woman and you have a king card. Don't take it further than it goes. If you're a man, you came from a woman. If you're a woman, you can give birth to a man, right? We are the same, even though we appear to be different in our vestige, right? But Queen of Clubs in a man, you're talking about the Queen of Luck, right? You're talking about the teenager, because clubs represent teenagers, right? Um, Hearts are the babies, the children. Clubs are the teenagers. Diamonds are the adults. Spades are the elders, right? So you're talking about a upper echelon feminine energy. You're very in tune with your femininity. I would imagine women enjoy your perspective a little bit more than most men in your cipher. Only you can determine that. But that's a level of awareness that a lot of men don't have. So your perspective can be very insightful, especially for those around you.
All right.
I'm trying to go back to the
We have
oh,
Cheryl Lynn Grayer, June 25th, 1961, and Cheryl Lynn Grayer. So once you do her name, the birth date, and the name. June 25th, 19. So that's 6/25, 1961.
June 25 is the five of spades. No, I'm sorry. It's the five of clubs. Five of clubs. Five of clubs is luck in communication, right? Five again. That's that beauty. That's that travel. That's that sex. That copulation. That restless energy. That moving around through the lens of the club, which is talking about luck, which is talking about a youthful, vigorous perspective, right? In terms of your name frequency. Give me 1 second.
You still computing Sheolin's name? Or you want to? We gonna go to Tor? We have Tor Carib 2/23, 1970.
No, I got Cheryl Lynn. Cheryl Lynn
That's
has a
Sheolin.
long.
All right, go ahead. Yes.
She's got a long name. It's interesting. I'm I, I'm not one to talk with my name, right? But it's always interesting with our people and our names. You know, the names we choose to spell our own way, but that's how the frequency wants to be expressed, right? So, Cheryl Lynn Grayer, your name. What I would point out, it resonates with your reality. Click me to unlock a list of created messages. King Charles of Wales. Something I always point out is like people, places, and things that you resonate with, right? So, right where I belong, K, that's a literal reference to me, right? Jesus is the miracle when you understand what Jesus represents in terms of energy, right? Especially in femininity. Orson Welles, How Considerate, Newsletter, God's Jurisdiction, Turn to Love, Hating When I'm Lied to, The Joe Rogan Experience, Nitty Gritty, I'm the Code of Jesus. Like all of these different terms and phrases resonate with the same energy as your name. So only you can understand why that is. But this is ultimately how you're determining to show up. So it's about understanding that why.
All right. So we have Nadine Figueroa Bay. We had one before 2/26/63.
With 226, that's going to be another queen of clubs. It's a lot of clubs in here. It's a lot of lucky people in here. That's kind of awesome. You know what I'm saying? That denotes a wonderfully great frequency in terms of, actually saying something. So thank you for joining us. Queen of clubs, again, that's the higher upper echelon of feminine energy in terms of luck, in terms of fortune, in terms of communication, right? You think about the symbolism of that clover and what it represents, these three different points with this grindstone at the bottom. Um, you have a way of showing up for people. And especially being born in a 9 year, which turns into a 1 for you because of the 10. So you're naturally assertive, but you're also born in the month of February, right? So that Aquarian energy is ever prevalent, and you're actually more in your element now in the supposed Aquarian age. It's almost like a cheat code or a hack that you're born with, if that makes sense. And we're talking about the ultimate month of femininity, February. That's still original count. Except in this year, which was a leap year where you actually had 29 days, 1 day extra.
We have Delano Peoples 11/22/1971.
Six life paths, secondary four energy with master builder energy on top of that, that 22. The 22, that's build and destroy, right? Um, in a 9 year, right? There's like you're surrounded by master energy, master number energy. So that's a lot of femininity. That's also the ability to adapt is greater. 11/22. Jack of Hearts. Jack of Hearts is a powerful card. So I'm gonna tell you one thing, and I know you'll understand. So your card is fixed, right? Your card doesn't move. You have the King of Spades, you have the Jack of Hearts, and you have the Eight of Clubs. These cards do not move. So you can look at your life and you can see how everything that comes to you. Very rarely do you have to go after something or do you have to chase something down. Most things in life from people, places, things, money, you name it, come to you.
All right. So we have. Oh, that's you. All right. So this is Cash App. Hector Jimenez. 11/13/1987. His name Hector Jimenez. 11/13/1987.
Another 4 life. Wow, that's a double 4. 4 life path with secondary 4 energy. So like you got to be real careful in terms of law enforcement and engagement, right? Especially in terms of other people. Um, I would imagine you've had some interesting run-ins with the law. Not even necessarily yourself, but people who may be with you, especially people you might ride with or have ridden with. That's a double 4 energy. So like on a universal 4 day, that's the day you don't want to speed. That's the day you don't want to do dirt. That's the day you don't want to like go out of your way to do anything that you might have to explain to an authority figure. But 11/13, you are a 7 of clubs, so like you got a mouthpiece on you. You know what I mean? Like, and you have a natural understanding of spirituality that might make people question or kind of get aggressive, that you even have the audacity to speak some of the things that you speak, but you have a perspective and an understanding that many people around you just don't have. Almost to the point to where like you might notice people ask you like, I hate to ask you this, but you know what I'm saying? And then they'll ask you something kind of deep to them. You're just like, why do you hate to ask me that? Like, I got an answer for you, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. His name Hector Jimenez.
Let me see. Give me 1 second here.
As he computes, hit that subscribe button, like button.
So Hector Jimenez, we're talking about 906 in the Sumerian cipher. So that gives us 71. God is real, I can assure you. The letter X is the mark of Lucifer. Mind you, Lucifer, we're really talking about feminine energy. That's a whole other conversation. I am being Christ's twin, expansiveness. Stu Peters, psychiatric corruption, spreading her wings, being crowned Christ, codes with bride's name, water is feeling hot, end of sorrow, warrior sent, about my job. When you come across different frequencies of your name, I can't recommend enough like looking for people, places, and things because they give you actual examples that you're able to look at and kind of not necessarily compare yourself to, but be able to see similarities and see certain differences because 9 times out of 10, they're going to be stark, right? Like, oh my God, that's me. Oh my God, that is not me. You know what I mean? Like, it should be very clear, especially if you think about, you know, things being dominant as far as traits go, and then things being dormant.
Right. All right. So, brother, this is very enlightening. We have Israel El Bay, 8/21/1989. 8/21/1989.
Another niner. Yeah, see. So Yeah, wow. Okay. So I love this because there's always this movement to try to remove the feminine. And you can't remove the feminine. Everything is feminine. So you are a 2 life path. Some people will try to tell you that you were an 11. 2 is a higher octave, right? So you can say that. There's nothing wrong with that. But ultimately you're a 20, which is a 2. So you're very much about partnerships. And then with that 21 energy, I would imagine, because see, it's a little different with the 21 as opposed to the 12, because like your partnershiping is meeting assertiveness, right? So like I would imagine you've probably written a lot of rhymes. You're probably a poet, singer, something big with the mouthpiece. But poetry and rap is really big for 21s, right? Um, you got a lot of women around you who like you just because you're you. I could probably take that somewhere else, but I'm gonna leave it there. And again, we're talking about that Leo energy. So like a natural place in the sun. And 821 is, see, here we go again. It's a lot of clubs in here. It's a lot of luck. Uh, you know, um, I would recommend, the people in the chat, take a look at the other names in the chat, especially go back and look at the readings. You know what I'm saying? To understand how many clubs are here and understand what clubs actually represent. You know what I mean? Because it's a powerful energy. It's a very, very powerful energy. So keep speaking things into existence, especially you, Israel.
Powerful, powerful. Uh, Jahid, Jahid, Akbar. Did you do his? I don't think you did his name. This is Scrooge Greedy. You did the date. Did you do
Yeah,
the name?
no,
Hmm?
no, I did the date. I don't think I did his name. So
All
do
right. Yes.
the
All
do
right.
the jihad name, right?
Jahad name. Jahad Akbar. Did you? This is Scrooge Greedy.
Right. Yeah, that comes to 390 in the Sumerian. So you always want to, when you decode someone, you always want to be able to see yourself in the decode, right? That just gives you like a confirmation. So the first thing I see um, was lions conquering K, right? So the lions, I don't care about sports. I don't really pay attention to sports, but sports, especially scores and victories, can convey a lot of things, a lot of messages. I'm from Detroit. The Detroit Lions won yesterday, and they're 7-1 for the first time since like 1956 or something, right? So
Yeah.
when I see
Mhm.
Lions conquering K, I know that this is a fated meeting. You see what I'm saying? So that's your frequency. May 1st also comes out. Why would that be significant? That's a date. Well, what is May 1st? May 1st is where we get May Day, right? May Day is when the Illuminati was formed in Bavaria, Germany, 1776, right before this country was founded. Interestingly enough, what does that mean for you? That would be a point you might want to research if you haven't already, or you may want to revisit, right? Because that's trying to convey something. March 14th, that would be a date that you want to look into because it's the same as your name. So again, it's trying to convey something. Holy of Holies. I think about the Temple of Luxor, or the Temple of Waset, where you actually have the Holy of Holies, right? Unconquerable, biotypes, outnumbered, prayers, subtensions, vibe, unrestricted, right? Rhythms. Quincy Jones made the transition today. You want to talk about rhythms, right? So, all of these different frequencies are trying to convey something, right? So you want to be able to tap in with yourself through your own frequency and see what those messages are. Because while people should be able and can be able to guide you and point certain things out, ultimately you want to be able to trust your own intuition, because you've been telling yourself these things through the power of your name since you were born. Remember, what's in the name? Everything.
All right. Yeah, Tor, Carib, 223, 1970, and he's saying peace family. So we have 223, 1970.
Six life path with secondary 5 energy. Largely, wow. See, now this is the kind of person I like doing a case study on, because it looks like a conundrum. When you have someone who's a life path 6 with secondary 5 energy, because they're very much at home, but
Mhm.
there's a level of freedom they get from movement, right? So
Mm.
so they can be at home no matter where they are. They probably take home with them in one way or another. Um, and 223 is, wow. So your day is tomorrow energetically, because you are a 2 of diamonds, right? So you understand better than most why election day is tomorrow, whether you vote or whether you don't, right? Because you understand the value of partnerships, the value of choosing, how and what we value, right? What determines what is trash, because trash to one is gold to another. You see that better than most, especially because you are also 1970. And 1970, I keep wanting to go off my head, but I don't want to misspeak. 1970 is a dog. So this hasn't been the best year for you, especially because you are a metal dog, right? So metal is really talking about refinement. If you think about the process of making a sword, right, like a blacksmith, like you got to dig into the earth, you got to get this ore, you got to heat it up and burn out all the impurities, you got to beat the living shit out of it, you got to dump it in water and cool it off and start the process all over again, just to form and then shape and then mold it and sharpen, right? Like it's a rigorous process. This year for you, being a dog in a dragon year, the dragon is your opposite or enemy energy, right? So this has been a harder year for you than most. You're coming out. If I promise you, if you made it this far, it's been one of the greatest learning experiences you've been through. And depending upon how you face your fears, how you face what you've been through, you're coming to a point of elevation. January 29th, I want to give you a very specific date, because we switch over in the Eastern calendar, the Chinese calendar, January 29th. So especially that week prior, you're going to feel a very big energy shift, and you're going to get some relief that you've been longing for. So this, I encourage you to hold on, keep doing what you're doing.
All right. We have Wealthy QT 81476. 81476.
They are a fire dragon. So this has been a good year for you. Coming into your power from another aspect, from fire to that wood. Um, that has to be um, mental expansion on a whole nother level. 814 is. Are you serious? 814 is the Queen of Clubs. Another Queen of Clubs. I think that's three. So 3 queens in a row, you win, right? You know what I'm saying? Queen of clubs is, that's about as lucky as it gets. The clubs represent luck. They represent a great deal more than that, but you're talking about luck on another scale, and we're also talking about spirituality. Queen of clubs are highly intuitive, intuition on a whole nother level. So you want to pay close attention to what's making yourself known to you. You want to trust, you want to double down on your trust of your intuition, as crazy as that may sound, and as crazy as things can get in terms of what you show yourself, as far as awareness goes.
We did Nadine already. 22660. We probably done Nadine.
All right, I got a
Oh,
brother ask 11
mhm.
26 1973.
11/26/1973.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's my birth card, 7 of hearts. Whoo, you have been through it. You have been through it. I applaud you for being here. 7 of hearts is the mystic. It's the guru. It's someone who studies for fun. Um, you've probably been obsessive about certain pockets of knowledge, if not all of it. You learn just to learn. You've dealt with a lot of betrayals and heartbreaks and loss. You've had to rebuild and start over probably more than once, but it's made you into everything that you are, which is now beautiful, which is now able to teach from a level that only experience and understanding and persistence can give you.
Redhead, Montana, 11. We did this, right? 11/4/90, 1989. Everything is
Mm,
everything. 7/3/1980.
okay, let me see 1 second.
Everything is everything. The Lauryn Hill.
7/3 is Queen of Diamonds. A lot of Queen energy in here. Queen of Diamonds, you're talking about high value, right? You're talking about the Queen of Luxury. But we're not just talking about material. We're talking about value, right? It would be very easy to look at money or to look at lack, right? But when we talk about value, we're talking about that crux in the center, because it's not just about what we see. You can convey that energy just by being who you are. Especially with that being with that secondary 3 energy, another mouthpiece able to communicate, very good verbiage. But then coupled with that Cancer energy, like you can feel and emote. There's a level of intuition on top of the fact that you're a metal monkey, right? So 1980 is a metal monkey year. That's my year, right? So like you're naturally smart. You can figure out puzzles and see things from plateaus that other people just can't fathom. So you're probably going to have a few enemies, you know what I mean? But that's only going to make you better.
All right. Very thought provoking. Definitely looking forward to bring you back, brother. This was awesome.
I appreciate being here. I've watched a lot of legends, come through this platform. It's an honor. to be here. I can't overstate that. The ability to speak and build and engage and, meet people where they are and hopefully convey a seed of, understanding and fire for learning is nothing greater, for me. So thank you for the honor. I truly appreciate you.
Yes, thank you for accepting. All right. So you have the Cash App in the chat. Show your love. Show your love. Brother, put his thing down. Wonderful, man. You see my website across the screen, mooresandmasonry.org. If you're interested in getting the books, this is again. So until you want to give some closing words, brother. Some closing words, some departing words.
Thank you. Yeah, I greatly appreciate that. I dropped my Cash App. I don't think I'm able to put my links in the chat. But if you search my name, no one else in the world has my name. I'm thankful to my father, Kilel Keanu, Mr. Merger of Kal-El from Superman from Krypton, and the Kikuyu from our lineage in Kenya. The Kikuyu is a tribe. He had a great affinity for both, so he merged them and created my name, Kilel Keanu. I'm very thankful for that. I want to send a special shout out to Mama Diamond, Nina Dunham, over at Levin University, mother of Aquarius Maximus. I co-host with her every morning on Clubhouse in the Astrology Club. Please check her out. Check out Aquarius Maximus and her app and website. They are teaching cardology, numerology, and astrology on a level that you really have to see. You really have to witness. It's exploding for a reason, but it's us ultimately coming back to our science and understanding how to take back control of this energy as opposed to just giving it away. And I have a digital library that I've built on Telegram. It's free until January 29th of next year, where I'm only going to charge $1 for admission, but you can download hard, rare, out-of-print books and a myriad of other things for free until that point. I'm not doing anything that I'm doing to get rich. Money should be a side effect. We need to make sure that each other is okay. So if I can't ask you how you doing, I have no business asking you for your dollars, but that's just how I feel. So I appreciate the room to collaborate. I appreciate the opportunity to offer understanding and some hopefully some healing. And I look forward to more engagement. Please like, share, and comment, subscribe to the channel, support Brother Abdullah, Brother Hank, and everything that they do, because they're only here because they care. And again, I thank you so much for the opportunity. Love, peace, and power to everybody.
And I thank you, bro. And I thank you, Brother Abdullah. I just wanted to make this announcement. Just finished talking with Asir Dukateers. He'll be here Friday, 7 p.m.
All right.
So,
Awesome.
audience, family, it was wonderful, serving everyone tonight. So that's about it.
That's about it. Yep. Thank y'all for joining. Till next week. Till next Monday. Moorish Monday with Abdullah.